Hi everybody, it's Peter Zellum's GriniFlix Adventure 8 and welcome to another video. Today I have another exciting video and I am pleased to say that I've got a lens to test and it's a 7Artisan lens. It's one of my favorite focal lengths. It's a 35mm f2 lens, which is really practical. The 7Artisan comes in a number of varieties, the black version and also the silver version. This one is the silver version. So I have to say thank you to 7Artisan for sending this to me to review. So how I'm going to test this is going to be on my Leica M240-P, and as a comparison lens I've got this 1974 f2 35mm Summilux lens, so that will be a good comparison. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to actually use my Nikon Z6 as a second body. I can put on the adapter here. And now I can just use any of these M-type lenses, including the 7Artisan, on the Z6, and I'll just use this as a manual camera. And then I've got two camera bodies, both 24 megapixel, and I can shoot them side by side with the different lenses and make some real-life comparisons as well. Right, 7Artisan. Okay, so from the packaging point of view, it looks pretty good. Look, no real fancy claims to the lens. It's a 35mm f2. A picture of the lens. It's got a bunch of elements there. It's designed to look and feel like the Leica 35mm f2 Summilux. The 7Artisan, and they design their lenses in such a manner that you can actually adjust the lens, and that's the reason why you get a little screwdriver. And there are, I believe, instructions also of how that is done. And it's not on this, but if you go to their website, there'll be some links there, then there are some instructions of how it actually is done as well. Alright, so that's pretty straightforward. Alright, so the next part is we have a lens. And if you knew nothing more, if your eyes were closed, then you would say, yes, this is a lens that's probably, it could be a Leica lens. It's about the same shape and size. And we've got a 7Artisan lens cap, and that just slides on and off. And there's the lens. Pretty straightforward. We've got an aperture ring on the end here. Again, much the same as the Leica f2 35mm Summilux, and then you've got your focusing here as well. The throw of the focus is not, again, dissimilar, which you would expect if you're competing directly against that market. And then you've got all your aperture settings, aperture ranges here, so you can work out your depth of field depending on your focus and the aperture that you've chosen. Otherwise it's pretty straightforward. You can see some 3 little screws there on the brass. I imagine that's what you adjust if for some reason your focus doesn't line up with the range focus, for example on a rangefinder camera, a Leica rangefinder camera. If you're using the Nikon Z6, well then you're looking through the lens anyway for focus, and it doesn't really matter too much because you just change the focus accordingly. Yes, well, I like the black on the M240-P, the Summilux, which is very nice. But then the silver also looks quite nice. So that's how the Summilux looks with regards to shape and size. Like so. And then let's put on the 7Artisan. So if we compare them side by side with their lens caps on, you can see that the 7Artisans, that's a little bit shorter. Right, and that's how it looks. So with the silver, it's all very nice, doesn't it? Okay, so that's what it looks like on the M240-P. How does that look? Does the silver look nicer on the Z6? Maybe. Looks okay. Alright, well, it should be fun using all these different lenses. The Z6 obviously has an advantage in camera stability because we've got the in-camera image stabilization, the in-body image stabilization IBIS on the Z6, so there's no image stabilization on the Leica. But other than that, they should produce similar images as far as 24 megapixels is concerned. And I'll shoot black and white, I'll shoot color as well, so we'll have a bit of a comparison of how 7Artisan performs against all these other lenses. Okay, well, I'm on location at McMaster's Beach. It's a beautiful day. There's a big storm last night, but it's clear weather today with some sunny conditions. So the setup I've got is my M240-P with the Monochrom f2 35mm lens, the 1974 version on the M240-P. On the Z6 Nikon, I've got the 7Artisan f2 35mm, so we'll be able to do a bit of a comparison and the different shooting situations for those two cameras and lenses. As I mentioned earlier, when you get the lens, you have a screwdriver where you can make an adjustment. Well, that's only relevant if you're using a rangefinder camera. So if you've got the 7Artisan on, let's say, the Leica, that adjustment is for that brass ring within the lens. And then you can rotate the brass ring around so that will then affect the position of the cam in the rangefinder camera. If you're using a mirrorless camera where you're shooting, where the focus and the exposure is done through the lens, like the Z6 or the Canon or the Sony or many other mirrorless cameras, where you can get an adapter and fit the 7Artisan to the adapter to the camera body of your choice. Well, if you're doing that, well, you're not using the rangefinder facility or that ring, and therefore it doesn't matter. So all you're concerned about is the quality of the lens and its focusing position. There is obviously infinity there, and it focuses down to 0.7 meters. What I have noticed with any manual lens is that infinity isn't always infinity. Sometimes infinity it's a bit back. And I did a lens test comparison, a whole bunch of manual lenses, and I found that infinity was slightly off in many cases, and sometimes it was exactly infinity on the lens. There's a link to the video which was done, and you'll see what I mean by that. So that's the first thing I do when I pick up a manual lens, particularly if I'm using a mirrorless camera. It's really easy to tell that. Look through the viewfinder and go look at something at infinity and then adjust infinity just slightly to see whether infinity is infinity or is it just slightly back off from infinity to get the clearest image. So on that note, it's not unusual for lenses to be slightly set up differently at infinity. So for the 7Artisan, I don't necessarily say that's a fault. I just say, well, that's what it is with manual lenses. You have to sort of test your lens and find out where the setting is at infinity. There is no adjustment for that. It's the way the lens is made, just something to know. Now, you only notice it when you're wide open at f2. If you're stopping down to 2.8, 4, 5.6, well, then your depth of field is so good, so big, it really doesn't matter whether there's slightly different focus at infinity or not. So this is only relevant for shooting wide open. Today I'm filming with the iPhone. So I normally film with the iPhone or the GoPro 9 when I'm walking around in different locations. So with the iPhone I've got the small rig frame around the iPhone and a handle, which makes it much easier to handle. There was a video to that as well, and there'll be a link or in the description or somewhere. Alright, so heading out towards the beach. Beautiful day. And I'll take some shots around the beach and see what we can get. Huge hailstones, almost to the point of snow in some of the parts of Sydney yesterday as a big storm came across. Not snow, it's really ice showers, I suppose you call it. Well, here we are on location. So we've got lots of contrast and extreme light, so I guess I'll be testing the contrast of the lens, the detail, maybe try and get some flaring going in both lenses, and let's just see how the lenses handle those two different situations. We've got beautiful surf here at McMaster's Beach. Right, it's hard to take photographs and hold the iPhone at the same time, so I'll stop the filming and just take some photographs. Eventually I'll get onto Lightroom and then we'll be able to show you the photographs as well. So how'd you go? Could you tell which panel was the Leica Summilux and which panel was the Artisans 35mm? Could you tell them apart? Well, I guess now that you know which one was which and you go and watch the video again, you could probably pick up some differences within the images, which will give you a hint of which is which. So, okay, just as a comparison again, here are the two lenses, the Summilux on the Leica M-P in this case here, and I've put the Artisan's lens on the Leica M240-P. The lens looks quite nice. I mean, it's a really attractive lens, I think, in my opinion, and it goes really well with the silver M240-P, which is great. But again, the black lens also looks great on the silver body and vice versa. So silver and black interchangeable with the different types of bodies. As far as lenses are concerned, you've got to take price into consideration because you're always comparing price for quality. You only get what you pay for. So if something is made for a much lower price compared to something else, then inevitably there's going to be some differences, and the differences do show up in quality of the lens and itself, the technology within the lens, the coatings, etc. And that does show up in the images here that I've shown you. The contrast and the edge-to-edge sharpness on the Leica lens is better than on the Artisans. But again, you're paying 10 times difference in price. Okay, a vintage lens like this one here, the 1974 version of the Summilux, so I think it's version 3. Even secondhand is still 3 to 4 times the price of the Artisans lens. Is there a purpose for the Artisans lens? Yes, of course, because not everyone can afford a Leica lens. Not everyone can afford a Leica body. The advantage of the Artisans lens is that you can put it on a mirrorless body, and there's lots of mirrorless bodies out there now, even on the second-hand market, actually quite inexpensive. So to buy an Artisans lens and put it on a mirrorless body like the Z6 or Sony or Canon with an adapter, because the Artisans lens has an M-mount, so all you need is an M-mount to a mirrorless camera mount, and then you can use the purely manual lens, the Artisans manual lens, on any mirrorless camera. So there's a lot to be said to have an inexpensive lens that produces good results, and as you develop your photography and you start to work out what focal length you like, what aperture you like to shoot at, whether it's completely wide open or whether it's stop down, you can experiment with this lens, and develop your photographic skills. Then when you're ready, you can upgrade your equipment to higher quality lenses as you desire, which then refines your photography as well. I'll leave this video with a few more images that I shot with the 35mm Artisans lens, 7Artisans lens, and also some black and white. And so a combination of those will just show you what is possible with the lens. I will make another video, and we might do some chart work. So again, you can see in greater detail the difference between, say, the vintage Summilux 7Artisans lens. And what I'll also do is show you how to adjust the ring, the inside of the lens here, sleeve that's inside there, how to adjust that. If you need to adjust the focus setting so it synchronizes well with the rangefinder function of the Leica. If you're using this on a mirrorless, it doesn't really matter, because it's only relevant when you're using a rangefinder that has the little cam and coupling in there as well. But we'll leave that one to the next video. Enjoy the photos that are coming up straight after this, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then give it a thumbs up. If it's the first time to my channel and you haven't already subscribed, then press subscribe, press notifications. You'll be notified when the next video is out. Just a quick question, please do comment in the video below. Are you new to photography? Do the 7Artisans range of lenses, and there's a whole bunch of them, this is just one of them, represent good value for money to you? Is it a good starting point for photography? How do you plan to use this sort of lens or any of the other 7Artisans lens? And there'll be a link to their website. Planning to use any of these lenses in your photography, and which lens and in what situation? I'll have another survey associated with this as well, but anyway, that's enough for today. Enjoy the remainder of the photographs, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.